Okay, so this is just more practice. And for scientific notation, you really don't have to worry about this number. You just have to worry about this one. So for this one, you have a significant number in the front, and then you have a decimal point. That makes the zeros to the right significant. So this is 4 sig figs. This one, there is a decimal point, but zeros to the left don't matter. Because since 3 is the first significant number, any zero to the left, even with this decimal point, is not significant. So, but since there is a decimal point, any zeros to the right of the first non-zero number is significant. So that makes this 3 sig figs. I know that's confusing, but if you just do like a lot of practice problems of these, you'll get used to it. So once again, just to clarify, if you okay, so you have a decimal point, and you have your first non-zero number, which is 3. Any zero to the left is not significant. But if you have and you still have a decimal point, and any number to the right of the first non-zero number is significant. So that means 3, 2, and 0 will all be significant, making it 3 sig figs. So this one, same thing. The first non-zero number is 2. Anything to the left, any zeros to the left will not be significant. And then, but zeros to the right are, because of that decimal point. So because of that, 3 sig figs. Because of 2, 2, 0, 0, and 2, 0, 0 are, all will be significant. So for 100, it depends on how your teacher teaches it. I mean, ultimately, the teacher is the one that's going to grade it. So it depends. But for just general chemistry, this is like in my book. It says that 100 can actually be 1, 2, or 3 sig figs. So it's actually not really good chemistry to put it just as 100. If you really want it to have a specific amount of sig figs, you need to put it into scientific notation. So you should do that. And I mean, if your teacher teaches it differently, you have to ask them about how they want it. But in general, and in my book, what they want is for you to put it into scientific notation, which clarifies everything. But just as if it's just left as 100, it's pretty ambiguous. So the next one, 36.240. So all these numbers are non-zero, making all of them significant. And since there's a decimal point, any zero to the right is significant, because all these are non-zero. So that makes 5 sig figs. 26.1, all these are non-zero, making it 3 sig figs. 32, both are non-zero, so it's 2 sig figs. Okay, so for this, if they put 300 and a decimal point, so I asked my professor about this, but this, like, usually you can't like do this. I mean, I guess if it's just like if you put a decimal point, you usually have to put something after it. You can't just put a decimal point and leave nothing. Like the decimal point indicates that you want to put a number here. But if you just put a random decimal point, like that doesn't it usually you can't do that. You can't just put a decimal point there. So I mean, once again, ask your teacher if they have different thoughts, but how I learned it is that you can't really have just a decimal point by itself with no number to the right. So if you didn't have this decimal point, it would actually be you'd still not have a sig fig, because if it's just 300, then once again, just like 100, you should put into scientific notation to clarify how many sig figs you want. But if you put a 0, right there, then it would be 4 sig figs. Because the decimal point makes it that all these numbers are significant. Because the first number is non-zero, and since the first number is non-zero and the decimal point to the right, since the decimal point is there, zeros to the right are significant, making it 4 sig figs. And 29.96, it would be 4 sig figs because all 4 numbers are non-zero, so it would be 4 sig figs. Next, you have, okay, so let's say if they asked you to round it. If they asked you to round 29.96 to 3 sig figs, because right now it's 4 sig figs. If they want you to round this number to 3 sig figs, what would you do? So what you do is, since it's 9 6, the 6 would go to the 9, rounding it up to 30. Once it's 30, since you want 3 sig figs, you add that, you leave it at 0, and this would be 3 sig figs, because since the first number is 3, that makes the zeros to the right of the decimal point significant, making it 3 sig figs. And then let's say they asked you to round this number 29.96 to 2 sig figs. What you would actually do is put it into decimal form, because once again you'd get 30, but you can't just have 30 dot. That's not usually how it works. So you just put 3.0 times 10. Because scientific notation is the best way to clarify how many sig figs you want. So you do that. You have 3.0 times 10, which would be 2 sig figs, because that makes it absolutely certain that you wanted to have 2 sig figs. Now, if you have 99.9, just to make sure that this is a 9, 99.9, that's 3 sig figs. If they asked you to round it to 2 sig figs, what you actually do is 99.9 would round up to 100, but you can't just leave it as 100. And if they wanted you to have 2 sig figs, you can't just leave it as 100. So you have to put into scientific notation, clarifying that you want 2 sig figs. So you make it 1.0 times 10 to the 2, so it'd be 2 sig figs. And then you have 63.57. This is 4 sig figs because all these numbers are non-zero. And then finally, let's say they give you 1050. So this is actually it's, once again, since it doesn't have a decimal point, it's kind of hard to say how many it's hard to be certain without that decimal point how many sig figs it is. Your teacher might teach it differently, but if you really want to make sure you want to know how many sig figs it is, you have to write it in scientific notation, because like this, it can be different depending on just because there's no decimal point. So I hope that helped, and just keep practicing. Just keep practicing all these problems. Keep practicing sig fig problems, and soon you'll be really good.